Hey everyone, before we jump into today's episode, if you've been thinking about getting in shape or you haven't been seeing the results you want, we can guarantee you 5 times faster results through our one-on-one personalized coaching program. We're here to help you over any hump, any barrier you are facing, and to optimize your training, nutrition, as well as accountability so you too can see faster results. Because when you see results, you get addicted to the process. It makes it easy. And what's amazing about our program is we don't just take care of you, send you away, let you be on your own. We teach you what to do for the rest of your life. So this investment is going to show you how to get fit, how to be healthier, how to gain muscle, lose fat at the same time, and how to continue to do that so you can see continued results. So don't miss out on this. This is your chance. This is me calling you to action because you deserve to have the body of your dreams. And to take advantage of this, go ahead and DM us the keyword coach on Instagram to @ColossusFit. ColossusFit. Once again, DM us the keyword coach to ColossusFit on Instagram and we will take care of you. Now into the episode. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Fit, Healthy, and Most of All Happy podcast. As always, I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his fired up coach and co-host, KG, and I'm in the house.
We got an incredible episode. It's Motivation Monday. It's time to get fired up. It's time to get after it. It's time to learn. It's time to get excited. And what a better way to start, as always, than with quotes. So what do you got, Kyle?
And my quote for this week is something I absolutely love, and I know you will as well. It doesn't matter who says you can't as long as you're not one of them. And this is just so great because there will always be naysayers, doubters, people who maybe look at you from a different lens and just doubt whatever it is that you're trying to do. This could be a business. This could be, especially on your fitness journey, there'll be people who say stuff behind your back. And I think it's just so important that you're not one of the people that doubt yourself. And it's just like negative self-talk is so common these days. A lot of people will say, I can't do this. I shouldn't be doing this. I don't have the potential. And it's okay if someone else says that, like I'm totally fine. But if you're the person like from the inside deep down who's just doubting yourself, you're never going to be able to succeed. And I can relate this especially to the fitness journey so often. The amount of times that I have conversations with people that self-sabotage, that don't believe they have what it takes, that don't think they should be getting the results. Like I know some people who start to just sabotage themselves when they start to see results because they don't believe that they deserve it or that it's meant for them. And I really want to just encourage you, believe in yourself. Like similar to what the quote is saying, like if others don't believe in you and they say things behind your back, that's totally fine. Like that's okay. You don't need everybody to be on your side and on your page, but you should definitely not be one of those doubters. And that's my quote for this amazing Monday.
Yeah, I feel like it's totally natural to have people doubting you, to have people who will be naysayers in your life. That's always going to be a thing. It's really important you just don't allow yourself to be that person to yourself, because getting in your own way is the worst way to not see progress. As we mentioned, we have an incredible promo that I mentioned at the start of the episode. And too often people will say, oh, well, I'm not someone who has a coach. I'm not already super fit, so I don't know if that's for me. But we take people from all different walks of life and we get them where they need to be. And a lot of the time it's just setting that ego aside, having someone there who's a professional, who's spent the thousands and thousands of hours of research and application to help you do it faster. And then when you actually go about things the right way, it can be really motivating as well. So if you want to take advantage of that deal, once again, do not miss out. This is your chance. Don't get in the way of you seeing your own progress. Stop saying someday. Let's say one day, and that one day is today. And once again, you can take advantage of this by DMing us coach on Instagram to @ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into my quote, which is, if you neglect to program yourself, life will program you. You must consciously and determinedly make a concentrated effort. You must wholeheartedly commit yourself. And this quote just hit me like a brick because it's so easy to go through the motions of life. And I do truly believe that if you don't create patterns and habits in your day to build you up, you're going to just kind of end up getting steamrolled like a current. Like if there's a current coming, you can just be at a whim to it, or you could try to swim to the shore and kind of make your own path. And in this case, it's so common for people to end up in a life where they wake up after later than they'd like. They skip breakfast, they grab something quick. You drive, you work, you come home, you lay down, you watch TV. You get addicted to watching that TV. You go to your phone to look at reels. You fall asleep late. You live in for the weekend. The weekend comes, you overeat, overspend, overdrink. You feel miserable for it. And you're in this cyclical kind of state where you don't feel good and you're doing things you dislike. Whereas if we program our own lives and we say, I'm going to get to bed on time, I'm going to get up, go on a walk, I'm going to get my workout in, I'm going to meditate, we have that opportunity to grow and develop. And even for me, I love reading books and articles and videos. And I mean, you're listening to this podcast, so you're already programming yourself, but listening to things that can build you up and having that enthusiasm, even like when you're a child and you go to school and you learn something cool, it would excite you. And we have the amazing opportunity where we're not constrained necessarily by the schooling patterns. We have the choice to explore our passions, do what we desire, exercise, really do activities that fulfill us. And it's really important we do. And you don't want to just be kind of someone who's just getting rolled by your own life, doing things you don't want to do, going through the motions. And I just thought this was such a great call to. So just even that concept of not neglecting to program yourself, like, it sounds a little robotic and odd programming yourself, but just building these habits, saying, I'm going to be in the gym, and the result of that, you're going to be fit, healthy, live longer, have more energy. If you eat healthy, it's just the same. Learning to cook, spending time reading versus just mindlessly scrolling, looking to minimize dopamine. Even me, like I don't use Instagram much, and I started getting the reels, and they're really funny. I love funny reels, and I was getting pretty into it, and I caught myself, and I'm like, nope. And I'm going on a little bit of a dopamine detox. So I'm like, okay, no Instagram, no reels, only for posting for Colossus, of course, educational things, spending more time reading, avoiding any like quick fixes of energy, not allowing myself to like spend too much time doing things that I know aren't building me up, and really just working towards that has been really, really good for me. And that's something I've personally done. And I just thought this was a great call to do it. So once again, if you neglect to program yourself, life will program you. You must consciously and determinedly make a concentrated effort. You must wholeheartedly commit yourself. And I actually got this from a motivational video. Again, they've been on fire lately. And what the speaker said after he said this quote was, a lot of the times we know what we need to do, we just don't feel like it. We know what we need to do that day to get ahead. We know we have to start that essay. We have to do that work project. We have to cook a healthy meal. We have to get to the gym, whatever it is. And it's natural to not feel like it. A lot of the time, starting a process is just that first step. It's like getting out your door. If you want to go on a hike, like the first hardest thing is getting out the door. Even running a marathon, you have to show up to that race and take that first step. If you don't do that, you can't see any progress, any momentum. So even if you're not feeling it, find ways to get it done, and understand some days you'll be gifted, it'll be easy, you'll feel it, you'll be in the mood. Other days you won't, and that's totally natural and healthy, but you just got to find ways to get into it. And the more you can actually program yourself and have these positive habits and systems in place, the easier it can be to do these things that make you feel better and build you up over time.
I really like that, because last week I was sharing Arnold's top 6 tips, and one of them was break the rules. And as I finished recording, I was like thinking, I hope I explained, all these things well. And I was thinking like how he had mentioned that as one of his top rules, and it doesn't mean break the law and do bad things or anything, but like as I was just listening to Josh speak, I was like, man, it's so applicable of like how there's just this box that you're supposed to stay in, and just like when you grow up, you only know what you're told from especially parents and maybe those like really close to you. And I think one of the greatest skill sets you can have is just like to question everything. Like you start to see society or people just go down a different path, and you start to question like, is this the right choice? Is this what I should be doing? And I've always, I guess, growing up, like just started to, from day one, just, I guess, question like, what is the right choice here? Like, just because someone says this is the right path, is it actually the right path? Like when you start to program something for yourself, like Josh said, it's so much more powerful than just following like what the news says and what everyone says is right. And if you can just ask yourself, hey, just question, is this the right choice? Why am I doing what I'm doing? It's such a powerful question to ask. Even sometimes we'll sit down in parts of our business and we'll be like, so why are we actually doing this? Like, is it out of habit? Is it actually adding any value? Sometimes we'll take things out. Sometimes we'll add things in. But when you start to just create that program for yourself and your entire life, it's just so powerful. So I really like everything Josh said. I totally agree. And hopefully this meant something to you in one way or another.
All right. Anything that has you excited or intrigued?
I was listening, once again, I sometimes I just, between the motivational videos, the books I'm reading The Magic of Thinking Big, which is like an older book, and it's so powerful. I'm going to have some notes on that for the next podcast. But yeah, so sometimes I'm like, did I listen to it on a podcast, a book, one of the motivational videos? But I heard someone say there's 3 things that make a really big difference. So similar to what Josh always says within the stool of fitness, you need your nutrition in check, your training in check, and then your lifestyle and accountability. You pull one of those legs, you're going to fall. And I heard someone say that the 3 just success habits for them that they believe in is mindset, skill set, and habits. And he never talked about the stool analogy, but I thought it was so powerful because those three things, if you don't have one of them in place, like you can have the greatest mindset and really good habits, but if you don't have the skill set down, it's going to be really tough to succeed. Similar concept, if you have good habits and you have good skill set, but your mind isn't there, you self-sabotage yourself, you say you don't have what it takes, it's going to be very hard as well. So I really like how he said there's true success for him, just fitness wise, health wise, business, family, relationship, everything came down to mindset, skill set, and habits. And I've been thinking about that a lot. It means a lot to me. Some things may mean a lot to you, some things may not, but it's something that's been on the top of my head that I wanted to share with you today.
Yeah, what I have on my mind, I was reading a book and I love drawing parallels. It was a business book about business structure and how to optimize things in that sense, as we're always trying to do to make sure we're running a really efficient ship to get the best results possible. And that's our thing too, even going back to our coaching, is to never get complacent. We're always leveling up, looking at the newest science, science studies, anything in application we can do to get better results faster. And a big part of that for me is staying in the game, learning about fitness, learning about systems, all these other things. But in the book, what I heard was that anyone who doesn't want to measure doesn't want to be held accountable. And they're talking about your business metrics and analytics and what's working and not working. But it hit me like a brick for fitness, because a lot of the times I hear people say, I don't want to weigh in. It discourages me. And the truth is, you're in a sense saying, I don't want to weigh in because I don't want to face that reality and feel bad about my situation. And I'm not saying you should sit there and make yourself feel horrible, but sometimes that wake-up call is so effective. And he actually continued past this with the fitness analogy, where he said, if you do weigh in and you're 10 pounds heavier, you're going to say, okay, I need to make change. And then if you make change and you go, because I'm 10 pounds heavier, I'm never wearing the color green anymore. I think that's what's making me gain weight. And you'll make that change and you go, what the heck? I didn't lose any weight. This was not the issue. And it can help you narrow into what actually is hindering you and holding you back. But if you stay ignorant to that data, you could say, oh, I'm gaining weight. I'm going to stop wearing green. And then you could think it's working and you could ignore it. And then you could be 20 pounds overweight. And it's the same component. So fitness, a lot of it is personal accountability, and it's doing those small things. Weighing in, being aware of your weight is one of the best skills ever, and science has shown people that weigh in more lose more weight. Having that awareness, it can be hard to see sometimes, will let you know where you are and help you make the decisions to correct that. That's why we recommend weighing in every day. Some days will be higher. You'll say, okay, I was out yesterday, it's my birthday meal, I had a little bit extra, sodium, water, no problem. It'll come back around. And then some days it'll be really low, and you'll say, oh, it's low because I didn't eat as much. And it's just all data you can have and use. And just the same, by actually tracking things and measuring, you can actually get more data. Are my measurements going up where I want them to? Like, am I growing my arms, my chest? Is my waist shrinking? Just the same, like you can log your food and actually see how that impacts your weight and your results. And the truth is, you need to be accountable to see your results. And one of the best ways to be accountable is to actually measure and be aware of what you're being accountable towards. And I'm telling you, this is one of the easiest changes you can make. I made an Instagram story yesterday about the easiest thing you can do to see more progress with nutrition is to start tracking your food, to be aware of that. Within that, you can see how many calories you have in a day, how food affects you, your energy. You can see how much protein you're having, how many carbs, fats, micronutrients. You can have all that data, and it can be incredibly powerful. So that's one of the best things you can do for free. And then past that, you can even level up those kind of positions of accountability. Even for me, I bought a $20 food scale 6 years ago. It still works perfect. I can know with certainty how much I'm eating to the gram, which is so cool. And the more you can improve your measurements, the more you can improve your results. So that's my little extra push, just to make sure you're holding yourself accountable there.
And a bonus quote relating to what Josh said is, what gets tracked gets managed. It's so powerful. And I know so many people, like Josh said, who just, even myself, there's been times in my life where I can specifically remember where I don't want to face the reality. Maybe it's from spending a little too much from a trip or like whatever it is. But the honest truth is, in order to make those changes, you have to be able to just look at those things that's taking place, take a look at the data and see exactly what's going on. And yeah, unfortunately, I see a lot of people just not facing the reality within their fitness journey. And then you check in with them a little bit after, and there's just no progress made. And it kind of brings me to my last thought here, is just, once you do lose accountability, you become weak. Like I'm such a firm believer in it. I heard David Goggins say it one time years ago in a podcast or interview or motivational video. And I've always thought about it. And I always, like, when I do check in with people who just don't have accountability or just don't have that person by their side or the team by their side or whatever it is, like even the top basketball players, if they just say, hey, you know what, nutritionist, I don't need you anymore. Shooting coach, I'm good on my own. I know everything. And, you know, everyone that's on their side, the massage guy, like whatever, they would just be nothing. Like, yeah, they are some of the greatest players in the world, let's say, but you just need people by your side. And I'm so tired. Like, I know so many people have so much potential and they just keep pushing everyone away. They just think, oh, I know exactly what to do. And then I'll talk to them and they're just like, I've made no progress. It's like you have nobody checking in. You have nobody by your side that cares about you. And it's just such a firm believer. And we obviously care about every person here. Anyone who's taken the leap for our coaching program, shout out to you. We obviously know that you're succeeding and doing great things because you have accountability and guidance, but just take a look in the mirror. Just be honest with yourself. When you do lose accountability, you will become weak. Like, that's straight up. I'd say maybe 1 out of every 100 people will be totally fine. But the truth is that you do need accountability in your life and it will change your life.
And speaking of accountability, let's hear our client shout out who's been crushing it.
So this week we have Jeff, who has been crushing it with Coach Armando. 30 pounds down, 5 inches to the waist, improved blood work. By the way, those are 3 great measurement tools right there alone that I just spoke about. The weigh-ins, the inches, as well as the blood work. Of course, there's hundreds of other things between increased energy, just the way he feels. Like, I could talk about this all day, but the biggest thing, he's taken that leap. And what really stood out, even just talking to Coach Armando, is Jeff does work in the alcohol industry, so he'll have to test some stuff during the day and have to fit it in and find different ways to navigate. And what I love is hearing these success stories of people who didn't exactly bring a Tupperware container to weddings and just eat broccoli, chicken, and rice 3-5 times a day. Like, I love hearing people whose lives improved just from having a social life, from still being able to just have energy during the day, still navigate work super well, like just fit it into their lifestyle instead of saying, hey, Jeff, you're gonna have to quit your job, buddy. You can't fit this stuff in. Like, that's just not gonna work. Like, we work with real life people who have kids, who have lives, who have busy jobs, and like our biggest mission is to help them succeed and be able to just change a little bit in their life, not have to drastically change. Because like Josh said last week, like, dream big, think big, but start small. Like, that's what it's all about. So once again, take us up on this. We will change your life. I can promise you that. Jeff, if you're listening, huge shout out to you. You've done some great things and I can't wait to see you keep doing some even bigger things.
Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into the mailbag with our first question, which is, I am building out a routine and I am not sure how many sets and reps I should do per exercise. I hear such mixed things and I don't know when I should be doing 5 reps or when I should be doing 15. Please help. So my number one answer to this, and especially with sets, you can kind of look at your routine and see your base level of volume for sets. But where it gets really complicated is not all sets are made the same. So to me, a really high level routine will have about 20 sets or more. The problem is you could do 5 sets of curls with very minimal energy or 5 sets of shoulder raises, whereas 5 sets of squats are entirely different. So not all volume is created the same. And this is where this gets very nuanced and you really want to be aware of that in your programming. But for me, for compounds, usually I'll do 2 to 8 sets for that major compound of that movement. Keep in mind, I have more of a powerlifting background, so sometimes I will do sets of 3s and 2s and 5s. If you're newer to the gym, I would avoid it. There's a reason that 8 to 15 range is kind of regarded as like the holy grail. That's because it's pretty simple. You're going to obviously get a lot of hypertrophy. When you're closer to that 8, you can still lift pretty heavy. You can fatigue your muscles. 15 is a really good capacity to get in some good volume. Where going past 15 is difficult to me and can be totally fine. Like, you can do 20, 30 reps. There's nothing wrong with it. But it's a lot more complicated to really narrow in when you're near that point of failure. So for most of your movements, for most people, if you're talking a scale of 1 to 10, you should be at 8 or 9 for majority of your movements when you're done that. And it's very hard to pinpoint that when you're doing 15, 20, 30 reps. Oftentimes you could probably do 10, 20, 30 more. We'll really underestimate how much weight we should be using when we do such high volume of reps. And that's where this gets really nuanced, and I'll find a lot of the time people won't actually stimulate enough breakdown, enough hypertrophy to actually see change in these reps, and their physique will look kind of static because of it. And that's why most guys, when they start out, it's like 3x8 for everything. That's like the golden set point. But once again, there's just so many nuances to this, and you can experiment with your best, but you do want to be aiming for that 8 or 9. I'd say probably go 9 out of 10 difficulty for most things. have that awareness and then work back from there. But it's very hard to give a general example for that. And each movement is entirely different. Like, would I do sets of 20 for squats? No, that will exhaust you. It's very hard. That's a compound movement. It's your whole body. For compounds, I find you can go a little bit less. Volume has its phase, and volume will build to strength. Just the same, I wouldn't really do sets of 3 for bicep curls. The reason for that is the weights you'll be doing to do 3 reps for curls could be very dangerous for such a small muscle group. Like, if you consider it really only works in one motion, and it's very dangerous to have such a huge load on such a small muscle. Whereas something like a deadlift, where you're using pretty much a lot of the muscles in your body, you can actually withstand a lot more pressure and a lot more change, and you can take advantage of that and get more bang for your buck. But that's just kind of me talking out loud. Curious what Kyle has to say.
Yeah, and like, it's so different for every person. Like, we'll have clients message us, and even we obviously personalize every workout routine based off of what works best for them. And this is where it does get so hard with these questions, because we do get asked it very often. But there's some people who just will not feel a specific exercise. Like, it doesn't vibe with them. It doesn't work for them, and we'll have to make changes based off of just their situation, where they're at, even form wise. Like, some people just don't get it, and like, there's such a big difference between someone who is just doing, let's say, you do 20 sets a week. One person's doing everything super hard. Their intensity's an 8 out of 9 an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. And then there's those other people going through the motions and just not really doing it. They're just kind of not really present and not really there. And so that's where it does get so challenging. And another example is, like, even back when we first started, like, there's a lot of people, I guess, more in the bodybuilding space who will do like one specific muscle group a week. So let's say on Monday it's chest day. But then when you look at it, even thinking back to the times when I used to do this, the first 3 exercises, I would go so hard. The next 4, 5, 6, whatever it was, I would end up going through the motion. So although I was doing the same volume as someone who breaks it up, who does full body, who does push-pull legs or whatever, it wasn't actually created equal, because I was just going through the motions and just kind of not doing a whole lot. Like, I pushed hard for the first 3, and that's where you have to take like a deeper look at, instead of just looking at sets, reps, and just like that stuff that you're doing, taking a deeper look at how you're pushing intensity, how you're feeling, keeping track of all those measurement tools. And even for us, like, one of the best changes we made was kind of adopting more of like a push-pull leg style, because we're actually making the most out of each exercise each time. Even when we do legs, it's like, it's broken up so well. Josh put it together, shout out to him, and we're just destroying it, because the way that it's created allows you to just focus on each muscle group and go through and just crush it each time, versus just like a really poorly put together routine. So I can't really give an answer for it. It's just more so kind of a situational thing. But if you do want support, we will take care of you. We'll take a look at your physique. Obviously form videos helps us a ton, because we can see where people are struggling, where they need more support, where they're doing great things. But above all, we will be here for you. And that's my answer there.
Yeah, we'd love to just take care of this for you. I've been doing programming now for over 11 years, which is absolutely amazing. And there's just so much to it, even pacing. Like, you don't necessarily want to like, if you go bench, squat, deadlift back to back, like, there's theory behind that, but you're going to be absolutely wiped. Like, you can't go bench, squat, deadlift and then do like heavy rows and do like, that's insane. Like, you need to kind of pace yourself out, and there can be good gaps you can have by using sets of 15 or 20 to kind of let your body relax from that big, crazy, insane output on your central nervous system. And instead, you can do some hypertrophy based work, and you'll start your routine with denser multi-muscle group compound movements, then push more towards hypertrophy. So there's so many ways to approach this, and it's really important that you're doing a routine that's made for you, that's going to get you results, that isn't going to get you injured. And there's just so many considerations to have, and this is where we specialize. And once again, if you want to take advantage of that deal, you can go ahead and message us with the keyword to @ColossusFit saying coach, and we will be your personal coach one-on-one. And that's a great segue into our second question, which we get asked a lot, which is how does your online coaching work? What should I expect? And is it custom? How would you say you compare to other coaches out there?
So yeah, obviously we've been doing it, celebrating just about 10 years now, which is fantastic. And I get asked very often, like, I'll explain it in person to someone, like, do you do like Zoom, but like do like face-to-face workouts? Like, is it, through Skype, like all that stuff, Zoom? Or like, no. We've created a system that works for anybody around the world, no matter what your time difference is, no matter what your situation is, how busy you are. It's created so that way you can succeed no matter what. So we take a 360 look your nutrition, your training, which we've been spending a little bit of time talking about here, as well as any other external lifestyle factors. And we do this through giving you a game plan so you don't have to worry, you don't have to struggle. And so many people will spend a ton of time just looking stuff up, trying to figure, like, you dedicate so much time in your week to try to figure it all out. Whereas we know the answers based off of who you are, your photos, your measurements, like everything you send over. We can put together a perfect plan for you. And once we do have that plan, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's not a set it and forget it type thing. There's constant accountability. We'll check in with you through text message support. We do weekly video check-ins, so that way you could have that personalization, that support every single Friday, and just make sure that everything's on the right track. So we've thought of everything. We've tried a lot. We failed at a few things at the very beginning, but I'm so happy. Like, I feel so confident talking about it. That's like the only thing you'll hear us talk about. Like, we're not talking about, athletic greens because they've reached out to us. We don't talk about any of that stuff because we personally don't believe in it. And at the same time, we don't use it. Whereas like online coaching, we've seen the changes. We've helped over 4,000 people now. We have such a high success rate. And essentially, that's just me talking a lot about it. I'm sure Josh has a lot more to say, but we believe in it a lot. That's why we talk about it. So I'll let Josh take it away as well.
Yeah, we really have made sure to, since the start of making this a business, like I made this business and our channel and we made all this because we were tired of misinformation. I think it's sad to see people get taken care of. Like, as an individual, we have aspirations, and then to have someone kind of take advantage of that with marketing or gimmicks, or it kind of stomps all over that for someone, I think can make them resentful to fitness, can make them get in their own way and not see the potential they do have. Like, I love unlocking that potential for people with coaching, because every single person can be fit, healthy, and happy. And even if you're someone who thinks they progress slow, you'd be amazed at how fast you can actually progress one-on-one with a coach. And so much of it just comes down to understanding. You have a million things going on in life. You are probably a professional, you have a family, you have friendship. Like, it's just such an extra thing to be fully immersed in fitness. This is our life, this is our job, and it's very easy for us to be. And we've been doing this now over 10 years. Like, our business being around, we have over 3,000 transformations. We can guarantee 5 times faster results. Like, we can say these with such confidence because what we do is truly one-on-one. You're not working with some random assistant in another country over email and just getting sent the same thing. And unfortunately, a lot of the celebrity trainers will do stuff like this and really give a bad name, or there'll be people that are super new to it charging crazy amounts of money. But we have kept our coaching incredibly competitive for especially how personalized it is to this day, because we want anyone in any walk of life, whether you're getting ready for your first bodybuilding show or you're a mother of 3 kids who wants to see change, get your body back and feel that confidence back, or someone who feels like they have a dad bod and they want to see that change, or you're someone just who's been in the gym for 3 years not getting the strength and physique gains you want. We're here to help you, and that is what makes us different, is that we truly care, we guarantee results, we built amazing systems, we do it in a sustainable and healthy way, and that's where our coaching goes a step above. You can always check out our website too if you want to see more. It's in our Instagram bio, and our Instagram is @ColossusFit. So make sure you're following us there. And you can see the transformations. I think they speak for themselves.
And kind of working off of what I was saying before, like, it's so easy for someone to see a $50 guide and say, this is what's going to change my life. You get that guide, it gets sent to your email, and I'm sure I'm calling a lot of you out here because I'm sure some of you have done this. You never look at it. You look at it maybe once. You use it for a few days. Like, the difference with coaching is that there's constant support. I was talking earlier before, it wasn't, I guess it was meant to be, but once you lose accountability, you become weak. And that's why within the coaching, you have consistent accountability. You have that person that's looking, through your weaknesses and offering support for those situations. Like, what a lot of people don't realize is when they have these obstacles come up, we can see around the corner and we can see so much further because we know they're going to take place, and we know when we start to see trends and when someone's potentially struggling. Let's get real. There's going to be a lot of times where you will hit obstacles, you will have those struggles, and that's why you need someone to say, hey, I've seen this happen a couple hundred times before. Here's how we're going to do this. And there's obviously no one size fits all answer. And that's the biggest thing, is we take a 360 look and be like, okay, so you're going on vacation. You've mentioned that you have an issue with this. Let's come up with a game plan to work around that. And on top of that, we also have some exclusive ebooks between form guides. That's another thing, is a lot of people wonder, how can I get help with form? So you can also send a form video to us as much as you want. Some clients are sending it every day, which is awesome. And that way we can make sure you're doing stuff super well instead of having to hire a person personal trainer for $100 an hour to just stand there and count your reps. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, online coaching will always be, in my opinion, way better than personal training, fraction of the price, end up getting way better results, and you can do it on your own time versus having to schedule something and, then you miss out and then you lose your money. I'll talk about that another day, and I already have before, but that's all I got. And we really hope some of you jump on board because we're so passionate about it, if you can't tell.
Incredibly well said. And if you love what we say generally and for free, imagine what we can do when we get into your situation and get you where you need to be. But into our last question for today, when should I use a weightlifting belt? 2 times body weight, and what does it do? We'll ask the boss himself. Kyle used to always walk around with a belt, so maybe he has some extra info for us.
I used to, back when there's been so many myths. That's another thing. I'm kind of popping off here, but you hear so much nonsense. I'm like, you just need that person to say, hey, Kyle, stop wasting your time, stop wasting your money. Here's what you need to do. But I used to walk around thinking that a belt was going to shrink my waist when I first started, and I would wear it all the time. I actually lost my belt when my truck was stolen recently, and I just reordered a new one, which I'm really excited about through Inzer. It's an Inzer belt, and I loved mine. I had it before forever. But the main thing is that I really only use it for the compounds. Well, not all the compounds, just deadlift and squat. I find that I don't like using it for, like, if I'm using the bar, 1 plate, but I find anything over 2 plates, like 225, I do like to just start putting it on to allow myself to just brace, and it forces you to brace. Sometimes, especially because I haven't been using it lately, I've kind of forgotten essentially, so it kind of forces you just to really breathe intra-abdominal pressure into that belt, keep your core nice and tight. A lot of people think that when you put a belt on, it saves your back. It doesn't exactly directly do that, but I will say, because it does force you to, like, really brace, that it can help you maintain posture, keep your chest up, just breathe properly. So it kind of does indirectly. But I will say, like, even one of my clients recently was asking, like, should I be using it for OHP, like all this other, like, overhead press? And I was saying, not really. Like, I know some people will if they're using hundreds of pounds, but for the most part, like, you want to make sure that you're not crutching on it to use for absolutely everything. And I will say, like, some people use it for bench press, but I'll say squat and deadlift, like, those are the 2 things that I find really useful for. And I'm such a believer, and definitely helps keep everything nice and tight.
Yeah, belt's an awesome purchase. Same with knee sleeves. Like, a lot of it, you can get away without it, and to think you need it for things is a mistake. But it is a great tool to have. It's like, I don't need my seatbelt when I drive. I'm totally fine until I'm not. And that's where this is good. This helps you with cueing. Like, so it creates intra-abdominal pressure because your stomach, your wall is going to be pushing against that belt, which is going to cue you to flex as you squat down. And that bracing is what keeps your spine safe in the movement. Your spine is strong, but it's not as strong as your abs. Your abs, your musculature, that's what actually is going to work well bracing against the load, whereas your spine can't take that much of a burden. So where people will go wrong is they'll misdo things, and we'll try and lift with our back, and that's where you'll end up pulling a muscle or damaging yourself or slipping a disc or something extreme. So especially when you get into those heavier weights, there's no problem with having something to cue you for that. If I don't use my belt, I usually don't use it for my first 2 warm-ups. I really work on my bracing, and I already cue that in my mind so I can continue to do that when I do have my belt. And when I take this to the general world, like if I'm lifting up a heavy box and I know it's super heavy, I'll even take that time to say, okay, I have no belt on, I need to brace. And just that extra little bit of cueing can save you a lot of pain and put you in a really good situation. And in general, yeah, like the 2 times body weight's a pretty good rule. It's something I've used in the past. Obviously, you can go a million different ways with it, and I think there's never really a perfect answer. And like if you're just starting out, you don't need to run out and buy one first. Maybe work on really learning bracing and optimizing that before you get into it. But if you're 150 pounds and you're deadlifting 300, you're probably good and ready to kind of make that purchase. Some people will say 1.5 times. And like Kyle said, like some people use it for bench and stuff. I think that's overkill. I'll use it for heavy rows from time to time. I really like it for deadlifts and squats, but I can also get away without it. And that's kind of what's important. But to think it's like a huge crutch and advantage isn't true. It's just, to me, a seatbelt type of mechanism that is really going to be in your corner. And the safer we can stay doing exercises, getting gains, and being strong, the better off we are, in my opinion. And if you buy a good one, it's like $100. It'll last you pretty much forever.
Yeah, I
unless it gets stolen in your truck.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good run. Like I bought off Kijiji. I think I mentioned it was like 8 years ago for $100 and something. I remember I was like, I'm so pumped for it. So it did last me well, and I used it a ton. It's helped me a ton. It's gone through powerlifting meets. So RIP to that, but onto a new journey. But yeah, I love it. And when I went out to buy some new stuff, like that was the first thing on my list. I really evaluated. I'm like, what do I use? Like, what do I use often? What helps me the most? And that's the one thing that I was like, this is going to be it. And I went out, and so yeah, hopefully that helps you in some way or another.
All right, killer episode today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Once again, you can hit us up on Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusUSFit. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.